if there were to be give, there are some creative suggestions that have come up as far as how those days could be helped. Now, does anyone at this table have any ideas? Has anyone thought about any creative ways to get those 6 days back, or push them around so that they make a little bit more sense, especially to the at-risk children and to the AP students? David is raising his hand. Go ahead.
I have done a lot of thinking over the course of things, and in the beginning you don't always have that opportunity to think things over for a long period of time and try to come up with some creative ways that may help the situation. The days were agreed upon by both parties. We have a 4-year contract between the Galesburg School District and the GEA, and it seems to me, and I don't know if this is a possibility, it's something that I've just been thinking about, the possibility that those days could have been spread out over the 4 years, or maybe even possibly still could be spread out over the 4 years, so that not one group would be suffering the full load of those days, and group meaning students, whether it's our lower achieving students at this time, or those that are working at the college level classes at this time. And I don't know if that is a possibility, but it has been a thought that's been running through my head.
So your suggestion is that, for instance, we would have 2 days missing out of this school year, 1 day out of next school year, 1 day out of next school year, and 2 days out of the following school year, or something to that effect. Is that what your suggestion is?
I have thought that that would be a possibility that may help, instead of putting such a burden all on 1 year. Because we do have a 4-year contract at this time, so during that 4-year contract, those doc days maybe could be spread out over that time.
Okay.
Teachers have also talked about that there are still several holidays left in the school year, and that they would be willing to work those holidays, like President's Day and things like that, that we normally get off. And those are just some days that we know other school districts had used to make up days.
So holidays would mean that the kids would have to go to school on a holiday.
Like a President's Day, not Christmas or Thanksgiving, but on the President's Day, those types of holidays.
And Mike, you said that you at some point wanted maybe to have the 6 days restored. Have you thought of any creative ways to get those days back in?
Well, I think the agreement that I don't know what you mean by the 6 days, the way we're talking about it now. You mean so that you're trying to say the 6 days to 0 days? Is that what you're talking about?
We're just trying to think of ways of how we can make this better for our kids.
Well, I think, whether we like it or not, or whether people like it or not, the 6 days are 6 less school days. And, that was the agreement that was signed by both the union and the board.
Absolutely.
I hadn't thought about the idea that they potentially, I don't even know if that's possible, to spread it out. I don't know. I haven't heard that idea before. But I guess, like I think I've already said tonight, I think the best thing that we can do is try to just get as much in as we can in this school year, and realize that that's 6 days, whether we like it or not, or just the framework we're working with.
I would love to respond to David's idea. I think it's really creative, but our attorneys were saying the problem is we're not just talking about this year. IRS says you've got to take care of business this year. So that there are so many issues that are involved with legalities of how the doc days work and that whole thing, and I'd have to have our attorney explain it to you all, but that's one of the things that we have to work with. And unfortunately, I think we are where we are.
I don't agree. I will have to say that I don't agree. Here's why I don't agree. I think that there are creative ways that we can come up with to help our students. Not necessarily to help teachers, the board, the district, or anyone else. Just our students. And I think as a taxpayer, I think if we're paying an attorney, then we need to task that individual to do what we want them to do. We would be the customer. And if the attorney is telling us that, oh no, you can't, there are school districts that have. So I disagree with that, and I would personally, as a taxpayer, suggest that we make a recommendation to the board that we task the attorney to come up with something a little bit more creative on behalf of our children, based on the fact that our mission statement says that we're trying to help them achieve their dreams. And that is what we do in a school district. We help our children, not anyone else. There is another creative suggestion that I actually came up with, and I took a look at the number of early dismissal days that we have. This year we have 15 early dismissal days. Now, I know teachers that work in other school districts that have told me that they don't even have any early dismissal days. So if we pull an hour off of every single, we've got 10 of them left. There was an early dismissal day today. I believe I counted that we have 10 more early dismissal days. I have no idea what happens during the early dismissal day for that last hour. But if it means that our children go to school for another day and a half, because that's what that boils down to, if you add those hours back in, the rest of those 10 hours, that is a whole day to day and a half, depending, or you could stretch it and make it 2 days if you really wanted to. So there are creative ways that we can come up with to make this happen. And we do have more than just the AP children. We have students who are graduating early on individual education plans, on reading recovery plans. There are several different reasons. Special needs children, children with handicaps, smart kids, middle kids, low grade kids, all kinds of reasons to help our kids. So I would ask, personally, that Bart, as the liaison between the community and the school district board, that you make that recommendation for me, please, to the school board, that we ask that attorney to come up with a better way of satisfying our community members.
I will be glad to, and I want you to know, though, that I respect your opinion, and I admire it, and people here have all opinions, but we also have a lot of people that aren't here who believe that the teachers need it to be docked even more. I'm not saying that shouldn't happen, but we have that. I mean, I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. And Mike is a member of a 7-person board. He had his feelings, but we have 6 others. And, we're trying to find a balance that works for both parties, and we thought we reached that balance. It's not great.
And I understand, and please, for the audience, one more time, please don't make any comments, and we appreciate your silence. So I'm going to go back to this idea that David had, and with that idea, the teachers don't get paid. The teachers don't get paid at all. If we take 2 days in 2014, 2 days in 2015, 1 in 16 and 1 in 7, that's the 4 years of the contract, and they still don't get paid for those days. It doesn't happen in the same year, but our children are not affected so heavily during the 2014-15 school year.
And that would be great, except for litigation. The teachers that retire this year, they're not going to suffer that. There are issues that go on for schools that have more bearing than anybody can imagine. And unfortunately, how are we going to say to the other membership that, okay, now this group of people is going to have this amount docked, but then they retire and they're not going to suffer the rest? I wish I could answer. I don't have a good answer.
Teachers are there.
Approximately 19, and every year there's about that 10 to 19. It varies a little bit.
And how many total teachers do we have?
328, I believe.
Okay. So, not a large percentage of the teachers will be affected there. I think from a dollars and cents standpoint, it wouldn't make that much difference. I think it is something that we could look into if we really were trying to help our kids. And we're going to stop that subject and go on to the next one.